Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Well, welcome to another week of wonderful programming. I'm Alex, and this is the Ramble. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Lori Thompson right there. Hey,
Hello.
Lori, how you doing, Lori?
Hola.
Lori Thompson used to be the newswoman on my show, and I would say that she was the second star of the show or something.
I'll take that.
Well, there was a point at which I said because I could demand anything and management would go along with it. But I could do that, and I would do that. And one of the things I demanded at one point, I think when we re-signed contracts and things like that, I said, I want it written in my contract that the billing on the show has to be Alex Bennett with Lori Thompson.
Right, the with. Yes, and it said so on the bus boards, too.
Yeah, with Lori Thompson.
I appreciated that.
Anytime they did advertising for the show, they had to put down Alex Bennett with Lori Thompson.
Yeah, I like that. I appreciated that heartily.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, I for Mother's Day or something, we were on the bus boards, on the Muni buses. And so it can't, of course, I waited till the last minute to get her Mother's Day present in the mail. And so I was able to, I think texting had gotten where you could text an image. Mm. So right after the show, I had to get the Quay take me to the Muni bus terminal, the big yard where they keep all the Muni buses, and I couldn't get in, so I had to climb up on a Muni bus to get a picture of this Alex Bennett with Lori Thompson. It's a nice sunny logo.
Oddly enough, there's something strange. Like I had this one poster they had with my face coming through the poster or something.
That'd be cool.
It was on every billboard in town. And people always said to me, how do you feel about going around town and seeing your face on every billboard you see? And I went, I just don't look at them anymore. I stopped looking at them. But here's the thing. Every time they did a big advertising blitz on us, like billboards or whatever, the ratings went down.
That is weird. And that's so odd. So
because the reason you advertise to get the ratings to go up, the ratings would go down. And finally, I got to a point where I said, no advertising campaign.
No. Let's save our money, put it in a pool, have a party.
I never could figure that one out. But the next rating book that would come out, our numbers were down.
And there was such an antiquated system for doing ratings. They would send a diary or a journal to your house.
Yeah, and then you had to fill it out for a week.
Like you walked around with it every moment of the day.
I've got to do this accurate. What happened was you do it accurately for the first day, maybe the first evening. Okay.
Yeah, the novelty of it.
And then about Thursday, you go, oh, damn it, I've forgotten to fill this thing out. And then you would fill it out. And what would you put down? You would put down the station you listened to the most often. Not the one you were listening to, which might have been me. You might put down KGO, which always won the ratings because, the rest of the day you listened to KGO. But you didn't remember that you listened to Alex Bennett in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way
but then they came out then they came out with people meters.
Yeah, which means that the technology did it, and you didn't have to rely on.
Well, you had to wear this. You had to wear this like pager device. Mm-hmm. And what it would do is radio stations were then giving out with a signal that had its name. Mm-hmm. So when you would listen to that station, your pager would go, oh, KGO, oh, Live 105, oh, porn.
It was a much more accurate system.
Yeah.
But it was a lot more accurate. And I have a theory that when you're filling anything out, whether it's a loan application or something very innocuous, like, you're buying something at a sporting goods store and you're filling something out, you want to be perceived on paper as this cool cat. So you kind of think about what the zeitgeist is for the cool cat that you want to be,
Yeah.
and fill things out that way.
But the filling out thing was totally inaccurate,
It was completely.
And so they came out with the people meters, and all of a sudden the KGO, which had been the #1 station for I think almost 20 years, okay, that's a lot of rating books, folks. They did 4 rating books a year, and the rating books came out. I think they finally came out every month, but they were for 20 years they came out #1. The minute the people meters came out, they immediately dropped to 10th.
Yeah, isn't that wild? But they've been in the market so long that those call letters were familiar to people. So if they were like filling these out, and they were just getting tired and wanted to finish and go to lunch, then they would put whatever was familiar to them. Yeah. So those old, those old reliables like KGO.
So anyway, they literally were not #1 anymore. I think the #1 station in San Francisco. What do you think is the #1 station in San Francisco right now?
I will say, because of workplace listening, KOIT.
Nope.
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 No, the KCBS.
You're never going to get it. I'll give you a clue. What happened was at a certain point, there was a point at which non-commercial stations were not listed in the ratings. And all of a sudden they did. The #1 station, radio station in San Francisco is KQED.
That doesn't surprise me at all, because when I'm in a wherever I am, I always tune first.
And that's, by the way, folks, that's the PBS station, radio station in San Francisco.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, because all those shows, they have go-tos within a go-to. You got NPR, which represents a certain kind of mindset, and then within the NPR selections, you have like Fresh Air with Terry Gross, all kinds of.
By the way, people often went, Terry Gross, what a great interviewer.
Yeah.
And I listened to her as a person who interviews, and I think I was a pretty damn good interviewer.
You were. I was there. I was objective. You were.
Yeah. And I listened to Terry Gross, and I went, what's so great about her as an interviewer? The fact that she doesn't raise her voice,
She's pretty mellow.
I know you people are going to write me, and you're going to say, oh, Terry Gross is wonderful. Is she still alive?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Okay. And she has a new co-host, Tanya Mosley, I think her name is, but that does some of the interviews. And Fresh Air has become very creative at repackaging parts of interviews done by other people. They've got like a roster. They've got a broad bench of people that also do shorter interviews, and then they repackage them with other shorter interviews.
Wow. Yeah. Well, anyway, so KQED is the #1 station in San Francisco.
That is totally.
And I think maybe in the last rating they were #2, and KOIT was #1.
Yeah. Well, I found somebody was listening to KOIT.
What does KOIT play? What do they play?
Mellow yacht rock, basically.
Yacht rock?
They call it yacht rock. Yeah, which is mellow. Music that wouldn't get you arrested or wouldn't get you thrown in.
Yacht rock? That's what they call it? Yacht rock? Man, I've been out of this business too long.
Yeah, it started. In fact, there is a live band that does yacht rock versions of songs, and they're a very successful touring.
So is it like my father used to refer to good music. Remember the good music stations? It was
the American classics.
Andre Kostelanetz and people like that. And my father used to refer to it as flapjack music.
Like pancakes?
Yeah, flapjack music, because there was a show on radio, and I think he had played it on 1 or 2 occasions because he was a violinist, that was called the Albers Flapjack Hour. and they would play that kind of music. So my father always used to refer to it as flapjack music.
Okay. That's like, and there some well-established bluegrass shows.
So,
there's NPR has so many niches within their niche.
Oh yeah.
Niche.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But I mean, but they're number one. So but it took going to people meters to make that happen, which is probably has its problems too. But well, like you leave your pager at home, and whatever the dog listens to,
that's how you're represented throughout the day.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's just all about keeping the technology current with people's habits. People's habits can change. The cycling of people's habits, it's much faster.
Yeah.
And because of just the world we live in right now.
How's your radio career going? You doing that show once a week or something?
I am. I'm doing a Sunday shift on a classic rock station.
But she's not getting paid for it because she has to go out and sell her own time.
Right. Which I do not like to be nice to people just because I want them to part with money. And it's like there are a lot of nice people that you encounter when you're doing sales, especially in a small market. And yet, if you don't, if you have a moment like that when you're having a bad day anyway, and you're dealing with a butthead, and here's somebody that you wouldn't even stand next to at a watering hole, and yet they're giving you crap and you're pretending to listen just because you want them to part with their money.
Yeah. I never could sell time. Never.
I did real well at it, but because I just basically.
Well, because you're outgoing. You're outgoing. You can start up a conversation with a rock.
Right.
I mean,
well, small town, heartland, USA.
Yeah, but me, the only time I can talk to anybody is when I'm doing this.
Really?
If I'm at a party or something, I'm just completely shy. You know me. I was always very shy.
Well, that's what I always thought, that we were a good team at parties because we essentially double teamed them. I mean, we could approach a conversation, the both of us, and then together we would form the perfect conversationalist.
Well, we had a guy we were working with named Ed Krampf, and he was the general manager of Live 105 originally when I was there the first time, before I was fired and left and went to Florida and then came back and whatever. But anyway, Ed Krampf was the kind of guy who was the best salesman in the world. He could he could walk in the front door of any business and come out after being in there for 5 minutes with money. He just knew how to do that. The idea of making a cold call, as they called it, for me, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
Really? Now, cold calls would be cake for me, but it's just when it comes to asking people to part with their money. I just can't. It just goes against everything that I was raised
Really?
with.
Well, that's just selling, though. I mean, if you were sitting there at a candy store and somebody comes in and wants a candy bar, you sell them a candy bar, they hand you money. You could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also, if I had somebody that could just come in and close.
Well, then you have to think that you're going in to sell candy bars. That's all.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't feel guilt about it.
Yeah.
I just felt an annoyance with it. That it would cause that change in me just for monetary purposes. It was not what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because.
And
plus, I just had so much fun. Being on the air to me was like going to a party every day with a bunch of your best friends, and you get to hang out.
Yeah, well, I worked on false pretenses. I mean, I said it once, and the general manager said, "Well, I'll be happy not to pay you." I said, "I would do this for free," and I'll tell you, I proved that I would do it for free when I first went to Sirius XM. The way I got in there is they said, we can't afford to bring anybody on right now because they were just starting up. And I said, okay, how about this? What if I told you I'll work for nothing? All you got to do is let me own the inventory. the advertising inventory on the show.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And they said, okay, because we want you, you know, but if you want to do it that way. Well, within 3 months, they offered me a full-time, they've offered me a job. They said, we can't stand not paying you.
Yeah.
But
Makes
it was
me
a
look
way of
bad.
getting in the front door, and for like about 3-4 months at Sirius XM, I worked for free. And
Yeah.
I proved my point. I would do this for nothing.
Yeah. I mean, there were times, Ben, when we were working in San Francisco, and I would just be having so much fun. It was just, we'd be on a roll, and it'd be like, I can't believe that I get to do this for a job.
Oh no,
And
I've never worked a day in my life.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
I mean, I've done radio shows, but I've never worked a day in my life.
That's
And-
because you found something
and-
that you're good at
Yeah,
and love.
but
Yeah,
in
there was
San
one
Francisco was the most successful I've ever been. However, you know,
It
I mean, I
was
worked
fun.
New York, but the most successful I ever was in San Francisco.
Yeah, but you were a pretty big deal in New York because people still remember you when we would go and do the show from New York for a week.
Yeah.
People, still
Yeah,
remember you.
but I didn't realize I was that big until I no longer wasn't on the air. You know, and then
Uh-huh.
people started in retrospect, you know, people tend to remember things better than they were.
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
they just leave out the boring parts. It's like editing. It's like a highlights reel.
I mean, I remember Alfred Hitchcock didn't release Vertigo for about 20 years after its original release because he owned the film. So he decided not to release it to let it, you know, get a reputation and so on and so forth. And finally, after his death, the family released the picture. And all of us who sat around going, that's the best picture, best picture Hitchcock ever made. We then went to see it and went, well, it's good, but it's not as good as we remembered it.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's really good, but it's not that good. It's not like we had just, I like say, if this thing ever comes out, that's the greatest movie ever made, or that, you know, and that wasn't the case.
Well, yeah, it just shows you how much a role that hype and marketing plays into.
Well,
art.
it's also that you were like, so I felt people remembered me in New York as being better than I ever was. You know,
Let's not tell them.
but when I went back to New York, somebody said you should come back to New York because they remember you here. And I went back to
Yeah.
New York and I did okay with, I got Sirius XM and I had that for about almost 10 years,
Uh-huh.
which is a good run if you think about it.
Sure,
You
it
know.
sure is. Yeah.
So I came back here for exactly that reason. And people did remember. Oh, Alex Bennett, yeah, I remember you.
Yeah.
You know,
Well-
and I'm going. That was a long time ago, kid. And I get this from San Francisco. Oh, I love that show. That was the best show ever. And come back to San Francisco, do it again. I try to tell people we can't do that again. That was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, it was just so perfect. The timing was perfect.
Yeah.
The combination, the chemistry was perfect, and it was just
Everything
a great,
aligned just right. You know.
Yes.
And it took us a little while in San Francisco to get there because I started out at KMEL, did a couple of years there,
I forgot that.
and then I was hired by the Quake, KQAK, and I was there, I think, maybe for 2 years. I'm not sure. I can't remember the amount of time. And then I got let go from there because they were changing their format, and it was bought up by new people, and they had to honor my contract. And then Ed Cramp came along and did a football kind of deal where, well, we'll pay half if you pay half.
Yeah.
Okay, and they actually made a deal. They said we'll pay what was it? Something like we'll pay 60%. You pay 40%, and if he gets the same ratings that he got at the Quake, we won't owe you money anymore. We'll pay for the whole thing. And they, in their smartness, said, we don't like that deal. No, it's 50-50, and we'll just keep paying until the contract's over with. And in the first book, I beat the number that I had at the Quake, and they would have been out, they would have been out of having to pay all this money.
Well, yeah, the Quake was a great idea. It was like eventually, it was like the format that a Live 105 came to do, and yet it was underfunded, wasn't it? Like your checks would bounce, everybody had to race to get to the bank first.
Yes,
Because,
it was terrible. Yeah. It was terrible. It was one of those. It was one of the things where, since I was the highest paid person there, I said I will cash my check last.
Very noble.
You know, because I've already made enough money here. I'll pay my do my check last. But what happened was, the way I got out of there with them owing me all that money. Because they didn't want to have to pay me, but they had still a year and a half left on my contract.
The Quake, you mean?
The Quake. And they wanted to get rid of me, and so they held a meeting among the lawyers, right?
The suits.
And at this meeting, somebody from the other side, the side we were fighting, said, in this meeting full of lawyers, and he was a lawyer himself, he said, I hear Alex Bennett has a drinking problem.
What?
Well, yes, I do have a drinking problem. I don't drink. You know, but what turned out was that because I never drank at parties, people all thought I was an alcoholic. They all assumed.
Oh, they assumed.
They assumed I was an alcoholic.
Oh. Okay.
And the fact that he said this in a meeting full of lawyers is what's called secondary defamation.
Really?
Secondary defamation isn't where you say Alex Bennett's a drunk. Secondary defamation is where you say, I hear Alex Bennett has a drinking problem.
So you're crediting it with somebody else. Yeah.
But secondary defamation, and they said, you've just been found guilty right here in this meeting of secondary defamation, and they caved and just said, we'll pay him not to work.
Yeah. Well, which is a nice gig. I had that for almost a year.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, because you miss doing something.
No, it's not that you miss doing something. It's even more of an insult when you realize it's worth it to them to pay you. In my case, was what was it? About $300,000 a year not to work. In other words, we don't want to see you. Here's the money to stay away. Oh well, that's insulting.
Shut your mouth and go to sleep.
That's insulting.
Yeah, it's just nice not to have to answer to everybody. Because, I mean, when you think about it, when you're on the radio or in broadcasting or doing a podcast, every word out of your mouth has to be thought about, because it can be taken so many different ways.
Well, I've often said that I was walking all the time when I did talk shows, especially. I was walking on a tightrope because I could say anything that I could say anything accidentally one moment and be out of work forever.
Yes, that's what's scary, and I think it carries over into one's personal life. Like, I tend to be overly diplomatic. I mean, before I say anything, it's an automatic filter now. I would never say anything that knowingly hurt someone's feelings. I mean, not if there was someone I like, but I think it's gotten...
Well, I always knew how to walk that fine line, come to the cliff and look over and see the abyss, but not jump into it. And so as a result, I've never been sued.
That's great. Yeah,
considering what I've done all these years and what we did on that radio program in the morning, not getting sued was a pretty amazing feat on my part.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would take it right up to the edge.
Very edgy.
I'd look over the edge. Yeah, I'd be like the Tom Cruise of radio. But I don't want to jump over that cliff. Tom Cruise does.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is the politicization of every word, and it's everywhere. Has really changed the nature.
And I had to be careful about what people said around me, like you.
Yeah, right. because and that's why I always tried to know what the parameters were.
But
so that I
if
could
you said
respect them.
something that I felt could get us in trouble, I would jump in and save the day.
Yeah.
Does my face
And,
look too orange?
No.
Oh, because
No.
I
Is
did
it
it
a
so
look you're trying to cultivate?
no, I did it so it would look more orange, because with all the light coming in here, I was white and I looked pale.
No, don't want to look pale. People think you're a zombie this time of year.
Yes. Hey, listen, we have run out of time, dear.
Well,
Every time we do this, we probably should do 5 hours or something. I don't know.
but we have a lunch for craft services. We'd have to.
Well,
set
you and
that
I are
up.
just real talkers, so we
Right.
and before you know it, 25 minutes is up.
Well, let's
Thank you.
do it again.
Will we see you next week, Lori?
Absolutely, babe.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Lori Thompson. Yay!
Yay. Yay.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
And hello, everybody. How are you? How are you? Let me just get this. Let me just, Monday and on the first day of the week, I've got to do things to change this around, so it's okay. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Let me just get this down. There we go. And this over a little. There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. How are you? It's Monday. It's Wednesday, and there's only one person waiting to come on the program. One person. One person. Why do I do this anymore? Albert's here visiting me, and I said, I got to go do the show. And he said, you're still doing that? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that to yourself? And I go, well, because people call me and they want to talk to me. And I go, okay, so who wants to talk to me? Let's see who wants to talk to me now. Oh, well, there are a couple of good people, so I can't really complain. Okay, here they come. Let me make sure it's the people I think it is. Okay, all right. Is it the people I think it is? Okay, they're the people that it's supposed to be. Brian, and we don't have a pic. Oh, there we have a picture on you. Okay, let me now move everybody onto the screen. Move your camera a little bit there, Jeff, so we can see your full face. You don't have to do anything technically. Just move the there you go. That's it.
Yeah, why do you give him a hard time? Gee, his audio's working perfect, and you still got to bug him with his camera angle.
Well, I'm trying to just get him. I like to get him to look beautiful, because he's a handsome looking. He's a handsome looking gent. Okay. Anyway, who I had lunch with the other day here in New York. He and his lovely wife Pamela came in, and we had lunch.
Where'd you guys go?
We went up the street to a place that we tend to go to most. You know how you have a restaurant in your neighborhood you usually always go to, and it's called Ventura, and we go to that, and it's good, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, very good.
It's very good.
And they think that your wife practically owns the place.
Well, she acts like it.
She acts like
She
it.
acts like it. Like she owns the place. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, we're everything else is the same as it has been. We still have troubles with the landlord and with the lease, and my lawyer got a hold of them today, and they gave some kind of feeble excuses that would never hold up in court. He said it was the most laughable call he had, and so we have to wait until until these people come to a decision that they somebody's going to have to tell them to do well. And my lawyer says, well, we might write our judge, and ask him for help. Now, I don't know if he may be available in a couple of weeks, but right now he's got other fish to fry, so that will take a while. Okay. but it's kind of nice. I'm trying to get my watch here to charge.
Hmm.
Here we go. There we go. Okay, there we go. So anyway, so we got that going on, and and I'm always feeling lightheaded and tired. Did I look okay, Jeff? Did I look in good health?
Yeah, I think so. Right now, you look great.
Yeah,
How
but
was he walking?
how'd I look in person?
Well, you're fine.
Oh, okay, fine.
Same guy, right?
He asked, how do I walk?
Oh yeah, because
Oh yeah.
both of us oldsters have problems
You guys need
walking.
to both get those little electric carts you guys can cruise around in,
Well, your wife
Yeah,
went.
not
Your wife.
yet.
Your wife went and got the car to get you guys, and I decided to walk home. So that was a good sign, wasn't it?
Yeah, you walked home. That's right.
Yeah, I walked home.
Oh.
So yeah. But it's just we're getting old, right, Jeff?
We are.
We're all getting old.
Yeah.
We're not getting younger.
Well,
Yeah.
you're not that old, my friend. What are you complaining about?
You're a youngster. You're still working. That's the issue.
Yeah, I think I'll be working for a while.
Well, I wish I were still working. Work is long. This may sound weird to say because a lot of people go, "Boy, can I wait till I hit 65 and I can retire?" And I'm telling you, retirement is not all that it's cracked up to be. No, because you retire and then you get this kind of lethargic feeling, and it slowly starts making you die.
What do I do now? Is the
Yeah,
question.
yeah. Pamela doesn't work any longer, does she?
Well, she doesn't, but a friend of hers has a little non-profit product
Mm-hmm.
company,
Mm-hmm.
and so she helps.
She helps
She
with that.
does half of that stuff.
Is that
It's
like
a friend's project.
Is
but-
that like pro bono?
Oh, it definitely is pro bono.
Yeah, so she's not getting paid for it.
It's a non-profit. It actually is legally a non-profit.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of effort.
Oh yeah, even a nonprofit has to have a lawyer.
Yeah, and
You
they have to bring certain amount of money in there because they mail stuff and they give information
Right.
stuff, and it's basically a program to teach young kids how to handle if one of your parents are dead, die.
Really?
Yeah, because that's kind of what this girl's, when she was a child,
Mm-hmm.
her brother died.
Yeah.
And her parents didn't know what the hell to do with it. They try to ignore the whole thing.
That's got to be rough.
Yeah.
That's got to be a rough one. Now, I've never had kids, but I know that if I had a kid and the kid died, that would devastate me.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
And particularly if nobody knows really what to do about it.
Well, the one thing I would say is the most important thing is get over it. Do not let it rule the rest of your life, especially if you have another kid. But don't let it rule your life.
Absolutely, you're making a good strategy.
Yeah. And I'm
what
saying
they
that
have is-
because I've never had any kids, and I don't know what it's like to have kids. But I know that if something that tragic happened to me, I would say to myself, well, okay, the kid's not coming back. I've still got the other one, and I should put all my effort and abilities to that kid and not sit around mourning the other one forever because it's never coming back. No amount of mourning is going to make the kid come back.
Yeah. I think it's the strategy is to help youngsters. I'm talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 years kids.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the parents are very active,
Yeah.
they have a special book with pictures and stuff like that, how to teach them the same kind of suggestion that you're recommending right now, but to turn it into a little magazine
Yeah.
for kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I'm such a great psychologist that if a person came to me and their kid had just died, my advice would be get over it.
That's,
You know.
you're such a nice guy.
What do we say? You know, I mean, here we've got Brian. He's a guy who's become a father late in life.
Yeah.
You know, usually you use like the 20s and sometimes into the 30s to have kids, and then you pretty well made your family, and then you raise them. You know, but how old were you when Adrian was born? 47?
I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Was that a shock for you? I mean, did you say to yourself, well, did you say to
No, but
what do I do? You know?
no, because Tiffany had two already, so I felt as comfortable as I was gonna feel.
Okay. But still, Tiffany had two, and she probably had them at a pretty young age, right?
Yeah, very young.
So she was used to the whole process, and you weren't. She had to
Just
teach.
along for the ride.
She had. But did she have to teach you?
Yeah.
But it seems like Adrian's your kid, right? All your kid. And that the bond between the two of you seems to be pretty damn good.
I'm 55 or 56, something like that right now.
You
And
don't
if
know how
somebody
old,
that-
wait a minute. You don't know how old you are?
Yeah, I don't keep track.
No.
So,
Yeah.
but if something bad were to happen to her, I'd prison's okay for the next 10 years of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, you know,
Kevin could feel the same way, right? I mean, something happened to his daughter. I mean, I'm sure he's like, hey, I've had a great life, and now it's time to settle a score.
Pay back for what he did.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you're
Yeah,
assuming.
they show there's a video of I think at a 7-Eleven or something, and there's a guy has the daughter by the ankle, and he's pulling her out, and the mom is just grabbing her from the other side and chasing him, at the same time. And it's like, yeah, man, if anything will happen like that, oh man, it would, yeah.
Yeah.
No thought about it.
And it's really weird being 500 miles away with that whole thing going on right now. It's weird. I worry about it every day.
But what's happening now?
Well, it's just my daughter is now 500 miles away up in college.
Oh, right. Right.
And I'm just sitting here going, okay, what's going on today? And I'm constantly checking on her.
Well, the good news is she isn't Jewish.
No.
And with what's happening at colleges these days, not a good thing to be Jewish,
No, but I think she's okay in that aspect, because it's a pretty, I would say, a liberal college.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no issues up there, I don't think.
Well, I mean, they were making a big deal about Cornell because some guy threatened somebody or sent, an email or whatever. But that was one guy sending one email, and they make like the whole school has gone anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think. I begin to worry. I mean, because I'm a Jew. I still am. I'm an old Jew.
You can't change that.
And there's
You can't just buy out
nothing
of
to
it or
prevent
anything?
people from knowing that I am. But I just, I don't let it worry me a lot. But nevertheless, I mean, it's getting dangerous.
No, because they can do something that you have nothing to do with, and they just decide they're going to do something. That's what's
Well,
worrying
I'm
me.
sitting there watching my wife's favorite station with her, MSNBC, and they're doing this whole discussion about, do you think there's going to be more violence? Do you think the anti-Semitism is going to be happening more and more? And I'm saying I look over at Marjorie and I go, well, it will be now.
Yeah, if you just keep
if you keep
talking about it
telling
and
everybody that it's
asking
going
about
to
it,
be
you
this
just-
way, you're going to make
You're
it happen.
inciting it.
Exactly. Don't they understand this? Isn't there something they, what were you going to say, Alan?
No, just finish what you're going to say. What I was going to say is they have these kits for $69, foreskin restoration, so you can make it look like you're not Jewish. Saw something like that online last week, but got an email from a federal government agency, Federal Bureau of something or other, and they're warning of anti-Semitism in the United States. This is through a law enforcement thing. Anti-Semitism and racism against Muslim and blacks, actually.
Well,
They expect it to go
is
up.
it that maybe we now take, in this country, we take any excuse to be racist or anti-Semitic or
I think
to
so.
create that kind of violence? But
I
do you
think
think
so.
all these people saying that it's getting that way, and they're gearing up for people for the anti-Semitic problems and anti-Islamic problems, and I'm
Right.
going, if you just shut up about it,
Yep.
you'll
Yeah, if you
admit
have $1 million worth of jewelry in your house and you tell nobody, there's probably very little chance it's going to get stolen. But if you announce it, like on the air or something like that, there's a good chance when you go down to get food somewhere, you're going to come back and you'll be robbed of your $1 million of jewelry.
Hey, Marjorie just bought, and I bought all these diamonds, and they're at home, and I'm here on the radio at the radio station saying
Right.
hi. You know. But
And for the right amount, they can bribe me for your address.
you know what I decided though? I as you know, I can't stand Netanyahu. I think the man is just as dangerous as a lot of other people on this planet. Okay.
Yeah.
Especially because of the position he's in right now. He has been doing something the last couple of days. He's gone into, Gaza, and he's been attacking Gaza and rooting out the Hamas, which, we none of us are big Hamas fans. We don't like Hamas. Hamas is terrible.
Right.
Been terrible not only for Israel, but been terrible for their own people in Gaza. And the people now are suffering because of their decisions. Well, Netanyahu gets on the air and he goes, we just killed 12 members of Hamas. And I'm going, well, that's good. That's terrific, because we knew exactly where they were. Where were they? Well, they were under this building we demolished. How many people died in that demolished building? Oh, a couple of hundred. Wait a minute. To get 12 people, you had to kill 200 people? Are you out of your mind?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, and they say it with a straight face too. I saw one of the interviews yesterday. It's like, am I really hearing what he's saying? That's like,
Yeah,
I'm pro-Israel. I'm anti-Netanyahu. I think it's a crime that he has cut off water, food, electricity, medical supplies, and stuff like that to the people there.
Mm-hmm.
What a horrible, and now these people are going to have to drink and cook with tainted water, which will cause more
Well,
sickness.
listen, there are a lot of people. There are people there who have cancer, who can't get their medicine. There are people
Absolutely.
there who are children there who have lost a leg, but they don't have the proper equipment to remove the leg, so they take it off without any kind of anesthetic.
They don't have light to do anything in the emergency room.
And we had Josh the other day saying on the show that that he was he felt that the Gazans brought this on themselves. I don't think so. The Hamas went in there and forced them, okay, to accept Hamas. And it wasn't, they didn't love Hamas. In fact, there were a lot of younger people who were fighting Hamas in
Is that what Josh
Gaza.
said? I was on the show too. Josh was very pro-Israel. Israel has the right to defend themselves. I didn't hear him say what
I think they have the right to defend themselves, and part of that defense is within your own borders. Okay? You're not going to, they have, Israel lost about 1,400 people. I think that's the current estimate now. How many of the Palestinians lost in Gaza?
Well,
Over 7,000. It is not an equal.
it's
thing
never
going
equal.
on there.
Wars are messy.
It is just terrible. Well, on the other hand, I also looked at Marjorie the other day, and Biden was giving some kind of speech about how we got to get money for Ukraine, which I agree with, and we got to get money for Israel, which I don't dispute, but I wouldn't give them the money until they allow the Gazans to leave Gaza and to get medicine and to get help. But because
they could get all that instantly. Release the hostages. Netanyahu said as soon as they release all the hostages, they'll get power, medical supplies, everything back.
They should have it now. It's inhumane not to give that to them.
I agree with you.
And I'm not standing up for Hamas. If you
I
can
know.
get Hamas in
But
some
you
kind
can't
of
get that kind of cooperation in a war. I mean, you're not going to get that kind of cooperation.
Yeah.
I'm
No.
sorry. And it happened in Russia and Ukraine, and they tried to do the same thing, and they didn't get it. And it's not going to happen in Israel or in Gaza. It's
well,
not gonna happen.
Ukraine's actually Ukraine is different in that
It's still war, and it's still they bomb the shit out of everybody. And look at all the people that got bombed over there. It's no
Absolutely.
different.
but you don't hear about the Ukrainians bombing innocent people.
They don't have the equipment to do it.
No, but they've been getting
And
bombed.
you join
Oh yeah.
They've been getting
Yeah, but
bombed by the Russians.
Oh yeah, the
Right.
Russians are terrible.
Well,
But-
it's the same thing. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, but
what's
all
the
I'm
difference?
saying is you want to get Hamas. Okay, I agree with that, But if there was some surgical way you can do it, fine. But when it means that in order to get 12 Hamas people dead at the risk of 7,000 people who are innocent civilians, that's an awfully high price to pay for to get those 12 people,
but are those accurate numbers? I don't know.
I don't know who.
yeah,
I tell you,
nobody
I don't believe anybody anymore. I don't
Yeah,
believe
I don't.
Netanyahu with his numbers. Like, we got 12 people. Okay, prove it. Let's see the 12 people you got. And even if you got 12 people, is that worth the 7,000 you killed? I mean, I don't mind Israel defending themselves within their borders with everything they've got. But to go in there and not know exactly where to find the enemy, they went and we killed a bunch of people yesterday, I think, Israel. They were totally innocent people. Saying that, well, it was in a building in which they said underneath the building were the tunnels. So they demolished the building. Well,
I'm not sure that's true.
well, that's what we're told. And we're told by
you
that
have the news
that
all
we're
of a
that
sudden?
we're told by fairly reliable sources. And Israel goes, but we got 12 Hamas people. Well, fine, that's wonderful, but look at the risk. Look at the human toll, the innocent people, the children. Okay, forget about the adults. Let's say they all will like Hamas and love Hamas. The kids.
If Russia attacked the United States right now, in the country right here,
Mm-hmm.
would you be saying this about us not going in and reattacking them back in their country and killing people in Moscow? No, you wouldn't. And I think the reason why is
I would be critical of. Okay, I've said this before when we've been discussing this, is that what's terrible is the overreaction. In other words, if you take a measured, intelligent reaction to something like that, rather than one that's simply out of getting even, right? Then I would go along with it. But I don't know how I would feel even if we were going to go hit Russia. I mean, am I going
Russia's a
to?
distance
But have they
away.
not? Have they not waited over 2 weeks to let people get out of there?
They
Yes.
can't.
And have they not waited
They
to-
can't get out of there. Now they can.
Yeah,
Today was the
true.
first day they could get out.
But they could have gone south.
No, they went south, and
And yeah, there were people
Israel
going south.
Israel was bombing the south too.
No. I haven't heard that.
I've
No,
heard that
I
one.
heard that too. I heard that too. The same,
Oh.
I think the same time Alex was listening, because I saw the interview when they showed that big crater in that building that they bombed, and the guy with the straight face is saying, "Yeah, well, we're able to get a couple people that we needed," and da da da. And the guy's like saying it with a straight face, and then you see the video, and they're taking babies out that are all like charcoaled and showing all the bodies and everything.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
I thought I was watching the first week or two before
There's a
all
couple
that
days ago.
bombing was happening,
mhm.
when they were telling people to go,
Yeah,
And they,
and
but
people weren't going.
they
They
were
told Americans to get out.
They were saying, "We're going to stay. We're going to stay."
well.
That's
Those
right.
those
Is
went
that their own damn fault or
those
what?
that went south couldn't get out.
No, it's not true.
Well, they
that's-
couldn't. They
that's
couldn't get out.
The
They-
South, were they not
Egypt-
getting out of the border, but were they going south of in the country?
They were going south, but the South was also being bombed as well.
I didn't see that back then.
Yeah,
Right after the,
Not
right
not,
after
not
the
then.
7th.
Not then.
Right
But
after the
thing is,
7th,
but
they were telling people,
and
"Get
there's
the
one
hell
other. There's
out."
one other horrible problem, and that is
There was
Hamas.
there was 2 weeks that the tanks were sitting on the ground outside of Gaza,
There are a lot-
waiting for
yeah.
people to move,
Well,
and
there are a
nobody
lot-
was moving.
There are a lot of people. Well, I'll explain that one in a second. But the people going south now, because the border is open, Egypt has opened up the border. Hamas is bombing those people, trying to kill their own people to keep them from leaving, and that's how horrible
And
they
then we
are.
get, then Israel's getting blamed for that.
No, they
too,
don't
I'm
get
sure.
blamed for that. I heard today the report that Hamas was doing that.
It's a shit show.
It's
obviously.
a shit show, absolute shit show, and the
All
I
people.
mean, they're going to be
Wars are
blaming
real
each other
mess.
for this stuff all over the place, and they're full of shit. Either one of them are.
Yeah,
When anybody may mention this thing about us versus Russia, they're pretty far away from us.
Yeah, well, what
But these two countries are
Next-
connected.
that's
Yeah.
right.
They're physically within each other.
It's
Yes.
like Russia and Ukraine.
yeah, yeah. But it,
Well, if
yeah.
Russia hit us, we would retaliate without even before the bomb made contact, because it's such a distance. It would be done with an ICBM, and we would
Of
launch
course,
an
it'd be a
ICBM,
totally different.
the mutual assurance thing. And so, but you would be behind it, Alex, I'm sure, if they're going to kill 1 million people with the nuclear tipped ICBM, and we're going to respond the same way. And that's why they don't do it.
well, to begin with, we probably take it. If they sent one to us, we would probably shoot it out of the sky before it got to us. And if we shot one at them, they do the same thing. I mean, and that's kind of what's been happening with Hamas.
Hey, one of the presidents, Bush or Reagan, came up with Star Wars, and a lot of the tests against ICBMs, they're much faster and a much higher in altitude when they travel than the missiles that was able to Israel. Those were a few thousand feet off the ground.
Okay,
These
but
are-
now, first of all, you're talking in hypotheticals here.
right,
okay.
absolutely. But we know
Well, wait a
that
minute. Let me
shooting an
finish. Let me finish.
ICBM out of the
You're
air
talking
is
about
like-
hypotheticals in that case. We're not talking about hypotheticals and what's happening in that part of the world.
Well, I
And
think if you were more pro-Israel,
Biden told Israel, be careful about what you do. Don't jump the
Absolutely.
gun here, and they did anyway. And my feeling is, we don't send them money till they back off and let people get medical supplies and get help.
and where do they get the medical supplies if we don't send them money?
There are trucks on the border that want to get in, and they're not getting in right now. They were getting in
Don't
for a
forget
couple
about
of
what we
days.
did with Japan, right?
What do we do with them? We obliterated them. What?
Atomic.
Right, they attacked us, and we killed millions of people with 2 atomic bombs, didn't we?
Bombs.
Well,
I think
here's
great.
here's what happened there, and
One is
and,
a
and there's still a question as to whether it was the best thing to do or the wrong thing to do. I could kind of side with those people that say it may have been the right thing to do, because to begin with, Japan, the whole country was armed, and almost everybody in the country who was an able-bodied man was a soldier, and
Within days.
there were a lot of American soldiers dying as a result. And if that war had been allowed to go on for another couple of months, a lot of Americans would have died.
Yep.
And they just felt that the difference between dropping that bomb, I mean, there was another reason why we dropped the bomb, but the main reason was it was going to solve a very horrible problem of them continuing the war. And when they didn't give up after the first one, we simply dropped another one, and then they said, okay, we give up. All
Yeah,
right?
within days of the second bombing.
Yeah.
Saved millions and
But
millions of
again,
lives.
you know, that's a different situation than this situation, you know. And it was that Pacific War. You know, you think about the war in Asia, in Europe being a horrible war. The war in Asia was terrible. It was brutal. And
But
so
we were using
this was a
nuclear
way to bring it to an end. There was another reason, I think, why we dropped it, as a warning to anybody else who would try the same thing. That we now had this weaponry, that if you tried to come get us and and we wanted to stop you, we got the equipment to do it with. You know, well,
Of course, Russia has that capability now.
well, Russia has that capability, but they also have the capability of completely annihilating themselves by using it. There's something to be said about dropping those bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, that since then, an atom bomb, a nuclear device, has not been dropped on a human population anywhere in the world for over how many years? 70 years? So, you know, we learned the lesson when we saw those things blow up on how horrible it can be. Now, the
Serious
current,
consequences, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the current nuclear weapons are not like those nuclear weapons. They're much more low yield, but you know, radiation is radiation. You know,
I've heard they're much higher yield, but I don't know. It's not my forte.
yeah, but I'm,
Well, we've seen with things that happen like Chernobyl and things like that, just the
Yep.
small stuff
Those are small compared to a nuclear.
well, that was
that
a
a bomb's going to do.
that
Yep.
was a
Look out.
that was a nuclear disaster in and of itself, but it wasn't
Right.
a nuclear bomb that did it.
Correct.
Okay,
Now
And
think about what a
that's
bomb
what
would do.
Kevin's pointing out.
yeah.
is that
Exactly.
The bomb is a lot more powerful than Fukushima or these other.
An earthquake on the side of Japan, yeah.
So I mean, it's you know, it's but I just watch the news at night and I just get so depressed.
I
at
don't watch
seeing-
it at all, so I don't get
Mm.
depressed.
I get
I
so
don't
depressed.
believe most of it. You know,
Hmm.
I just don't believe it.
You don't believe what? That it's happening, or that?
The news, and I hate, like you do, when the cameraman, interviews somebody and gets a close up of them dying over their loved ones that have been taken hostage or killed or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
I hate that, and so the way I avoid that is not to watch the news. Once a week, I'll catch up on it,
Once a week.
or I come on this show and I hear the news
Well, I
from
just
here and from Jack.
Don't believe what you watch on the internet.
Yeah, well,
well, I don't think you can believe what you watch on the news. And
Right.
in the only sources that they have in that part of the world is either the Palestinians or the Israelis, and you're not going to get the truth out of either of them.
well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people from the UK that are journalists that are there. They're kind of neutral people, and they are
The good journalists. There are some bad journalists they sent over there initially.
in everything. There's bad.
Well, here's what
journalists.
they sent over initially. They sent over everybody. And they all went over there and they all realized this was their time to make it big with their network.
Yeah.
And so they were the ones that were shooting the people crying and zooming in on their faces so we could see the tears, you know.
I hated that.
Yeah, and they did that because they knew when they got back home, good job, Bob, you're promoted.
Yeah.
You know,
Jeez.
it's almost like they're doing an audition for the network. You know, oh,
Yep.
they send Lester Holt over to Israel, like he's going to help.
No, he's going to report the news the way they see it.
But he's not. Believe me, you're not going to get any information in Israel but what Israel wants you to hear, and you're not going to hear anything from the Palestinian side but the stuff the Palestinians want you to hear. So you
why
don't know
watch the
where
news?
the truth lies.
That's right. Kevin pointed that out earlier.
It's what's been accurately described over the years as the fog of war. You
Yep.
know? And it just, it just goes on and on and on. And I just, and the part that bothers me, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew through and through. I will be a Jew till the day I die, and I will never deny it to anybody who asks me if I am. And I've been the subject of anti-Semitism in school when I was younger, growing up. I was called the dirty Jew. A lot of things like that. But I never let it affect me. I never let it embitter me, or make me think terribly of anybody else except the people who called me a dirty Jew, Just because they happen to be Catholics in the neighborhood I grew up in, I didn't think that was what all Catholics felt. And but I've been the subject of anti-Semitism, and I hate it. I hate it when there's any kind of ism. All right, well, Judaism is fine, but any kind of isms, and I just, it just really bothers me that now I have this nation that is not acting in what I consider the good Jewish ways. Jews are a very good, caring people who devote their lives to good works and good deeds. And I have to say that honestly, because if you look at the NAACP, who financed them for years? But Jewish groups, they've always been there. ACLU, Jewish, these were all good people. And I hate to have people think less of my people because of what a nation that has political aspirations is doing in my name.
Right.
And if you say, well, they're not doing it in your name, what's that flag? That flag is in my name. What?
Where did the Italians get the money to build Las Vegas? The Jews. So the Jews are not perfect.
I don't think you're completely right on that one.
Well, they got a lot of money from
the mob.
I'm talking about the mob got money from Jews.
No, the mob didn't get money from Jews. The mob made their own money.
Okay.
They did.
In part, you're right.
I mean, there were Jewish aspects. I mean, Bugsy Siegel was Jewish.
Meyer
Lansky was Jewish.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that
there were a lot of Jewish mobsters.
Yeah, of course. But the point I'm making is that here's a nation that is a political entity, and that's why I've always been kind of questioning of the Jewish state, or at least the Jewish state calling it the Jewish state. If they called it the Zionist state, hey, I got no problem with that. That's what they are. Okay?
Means the same thing,
but saying the Jewish state, anything politically that they do, like this, reflects negatively upon me as a Jew. And then I have to deal with it here. So a lot of Jews are doing something Jews don't normally do. They're going out and buying guns. And they're taking classes on how to use those guns. So, there are a lot of Jews that are afraid in this country right now. And there are Palestinians who are afraid. What was the biggest Palestinian death in this country? That 12-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid? How old was he?
It was 8 or something. Yeah.
8.
Yeah, it's terrible. Just terrible. But, we have an ability. If we have a great product in this country, if we have, a big output of whatever, it's not cars, it's not TV sets or anything like that. It's racism. It's anti-Semitism. And that's the kind of life we lead in this country. It's terrible,
You and I can hide that we're Jewish walking down the street. Somebody that's black can't hide that they're black.
Well, no, I've often said blacks carry their identity wherever they go. Jews, it's a little harder. It's a little harder,
Yeah.
Not every Jew looks like a Jew should look. However, as we get older, we look more Jewish. I think I look more Jewish than I've ever looked in my life. Jeff, do you feel that way?
I guess that's true. It doesn't bother me. I don't think about it from that perspective.
I haven't seen Jeff up close, or you, Alex. If you both turn sideways and you got a ski slope for a nose, then I would agree.
I don't know. How big is it? How is it?
Both, neither one of you.
Hmm?
No, I don't think so, Alex. Your nose is pretty flat.
Really?
Mm.
Okay.
I think so.
How do you make that little hat stick on your head, Alex?
How do I make that? Oh, you mean the little hat? We stapled them.
Oh,
Yeah.
staple it?
Yeah.
Doesn't that hurt?
Who did I hear used to staple his?
No, the hat's fine. Doesn't
You
feel
need a
any.
yarmulke. That really would make it more. There you go.
Who did I hear?
I went to a Jewish wedding once, and they made us all put them on.
Yeah.
Cover my bald spot. That'd be great. I don't mind being.
Yeah.
Jewish.
Well, that's why I used to.
It says stolen from
Bad
Chabad
joke.
of
Bad
Solano
joke
County.
coming. Bad joke coming. Go
Yeah.
ahead. What was the same?
No joke.
Bum, 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 bum.
A yarmulke from a synagogue, and it says that it was stolen from that synagogue.
Really? Does it
All
say?
the money I give that synagogue, it wasn't stolen. So
I always thought they were. You know.
Said it was stolen.
yeah. I don't know if the camera. Will pick
Give
up,
it.
I don't know if the camera will pick up the writing. It's actually there. Let's
But-
see.
Oh,
Wow.
Stolen from?
That's amazing to me. Why would they?
It is. It says stolen.
yeah, it's like property of. You know.
Right.
So they're trying to make them feel guilty.
You know.
Right.
Well,
I give-
there goes that.
Policemen stealing these. Jeez.
Thanks for dissuading everybody from thinking Jews are cheap tonight.
Right. I wasn't going to say it.
well, the rabbi
wasn't
gave it to
gonna
me
say it at
because
all.
I supported his synagogue. So
And maybe I'm ignorant, but I don't remember any Jewish kids. Like there were Jewish kids in our school. I mean, Kevin, California. I mean, like in your area, did you
I
grew
don't
up with
remember
Jews?
any either.
Trying to think. No, I had a Jewish friend in high school that I hung around with every day. His
Yeah.
family was Jewish. And,
Well, they all joked about it all the time, but Well,
it was,
I think
it was
it was-
just
I
a
really
regular.
think it was
you know,
Lenny
we all
Bruce.
messed around with each other, but it was never a big deal.
I think
Yeah,
it was.
I think
it was Lenny Bruce who said that California Jews are reformed. They are so reformed they're Nazis.
Now we had a lot of Nazis. No, I'm just
He
kidding.
was from Maryland, so and he ended up going back there. But he was a great guy. I hung around with him.
Yeah,
all
but
the
you
time.
live in
His
New
family.
York. You live in New York. It's slightly different thing. You will see occasionally guys walking around who aren't wearing the tallis and all of that, but they're wearing a yarmulke. Businessmen.
Yeah, every once in a while. I see once in a while, like once every 6 months, I see the guys with the hat and the curly hair.
Yeah.
I mean, the landlord who testified at the trial wore a yarmulke.
You don't see that much here outside of the synagogue.
No,
Funniest thing was
no.
going- we went to-
California was very relaxed that way. It wasn't until I got to New York that I knew what being Jewish really was. I grew up in California thinking I wasn't that good looking, I wasn't that attractive, and the women kind of seemed to agree with me, And then I moved out across the country. I wound up in New York, and all of a sudden I had all these women coming on to me.
Yeah, they're not really women,
Because
they're
in New
transvestites.
York I had a certain attractiveness because of my Jewishness that was terrific. It made me feel very confident. Didn't make my wife happy, but
How tall are you, Alex? You're not short, right?
I'm 6 feet tall. Maybe
I remember. Yeah. So do you also have that going for you? I think height you can get a lot with height.
Well, it was just that in California, if you were Jewish, it was kind of odd. You were invited to dinner as an oddity to see if you would eat pork. Growing up in California, I mean, I went to Marin County. We had a temple, but it was in a house that they had bought. It wasn't really a temple. They finally added a little addition to it that made it look more like a temple. But I went there. and there were only something like 30 Jewish families in Marin County.
Mm.
You know, so we went to Sunday school on Sunday. We should have gone on Saturday, but we went on Sunday. You know, and it was just, you know, it was a whole different vibe out in California. When I moved to New York, you know, I felt like I belonged. You know, and the only thing is that in New York you have two different types of Jews. You have the Orthodox Jews and the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Orthodox Jews, we're not too terribly fond of them, right, Jeff?
They're hardcore.
They're
difficult.
mean. They're mean,
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my landlord.
Now I think
my
we
landlords.
had a group of them in our area in Burlingame, I think, and there was a synagogue down there.
Mhm.
Yeah, and you'd show up one day a week. All of a sudden, they'd appear, and then go back wherever they came from. But they were around.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting on this show. 4 of us were raised in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Mm-hmm.
born and lived in New York for forever. So
Yeah.
So you're not one of the 4 of us. That would be 5 of
no,
us.
no.
That's
But I
right.
also
Brian, where were you born?
Who? Me?
Yeah.
I was born in Redwood City.
Oh,
I
okay.
was born in Mills Hospital in San Diego, and then moved to Redwood City. And then when I was 21, I moved to San Jose.
Yeah. I was born in Children's Hospital in San Francisco.
I was too. No, I was born at Mary's Help in San Francisco.
I was born at Kaiser in Oakland.
But what bothered me once is when I went back past Children's Hospital, where I was born, there were no bike racks. Now, wouldn't you think there'd be a bike rack at Children's Hospital?
Right? Yeah. Well, how are they going to get there?
Exactly. But
But then before, we were just talking about this. We were doing the Halloween trick or treating, and we said that we used to do everything when we were kids,
mhm.
and now kids nowadays don't even get out of the house.
Nope.
Yeah, we were talking about
I had
that too
4
a
trick
little
or
while ago.
treaters show up last night. 4.
I used to ride my Stingray.
Well,
from
Marjorie
Burlingame
said
to San
tonight, and
Francisco.
she was right, that the difference between when we were kids and did Halloween and when kids do Halloween today is all our candy were just separate pieces of candy. They weren't.
Yeah, now you get knives and guns.
Well,
and
no.
everything.
Now parents will only take something that's been packaged and sealed.
oh yeah,
That's good.
Inspect it.
Unfortunately, it's the times we live in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
people
what I'm
used
saying,
to bake stuff. You get cookies, and you used to get all that stuff.
I used to get
Popcorn balls.
exactly, but
Apples with razor blades.
But
for
they
your
weren't
father.
packaged. They were all separate. You'd put your hand in, grab a bunch of like.
That razor blade thing, I think there was probably one razor blade.
I think it was
somebody
in
found, and it
1979.
went around, and
Yeah.
everybody thought, "Oh, everybody's putting razor blades and safety pins and
Yeah,
everything." And there was
probably.
probably only one of them.
I remember one year getting very depressed that after doing trick or treat, I didn't get any razor blades.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to the razor.
yeah. You go in your room
I
and
don't.
start
I didn't
looking
take
for 'em.
apples. You know.
No,
with
today parents
we
will
were supposed to not take apples.
when the kids come home and they bring the candy, the parents unload the candy and make sure that it's all safe.
Yeah,
Except for the candy that you ate on the way home.
Well, you know,
it really
again,
sucks because I go, "This one's mine. This one's mine. It's not safe. It's not safe. Those are all mine. It's not."
Yeah, but you know the thing is, they what do they say that there was a problem with there was some medicine that wound up drug tablets wound up in some trick or treating bags, but they said like there was only one, but they showed the one pill. Now
There were
that could have
little
just been.
chewies that showed up.
Well,
There were medical marijuana chewies.
there were a couple of things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Saw something about that.
Yeah, so the kid gets high, big deal.
He's gonna get it eventually. So
Yeah, I mean, let's say Adrian came home with some candy from last night, okay, and let's say she ate it and it turned out that it actually was cannabis gummies or whatever, and she got a little high, would that bother you?
And like she calmed down and wasn't jumping around everywhere and dancing down the hallways.
Yes,
But
exactly.
she does that anyhow.
I may prescribe a little milder, but yeah, maybe.
This was a 10 milligram dose. I'm looking at the thing right now, and
How big is it? I don't even know what 10 milligrams.
10 milligrams of the active ingredient,
tetrahydrocannabinol.
or something or other.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a pretty big dose. My nephew left some candy laying on the counter. He lives with my mother.
Yeah.
And the candy contained 5 milligrams, and she ate 2 of them. And that night, she ended up in emergency. She didn't know what she ate, and
That's pretty good.
Well, I think the problem is when you get dosed and you don't know you've been dosed.
right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know.
At close to 90 years old, it wasn't cute, and my nephew felt real bad. 1, that he forgot his candy, and 2, that his grandmother, who he lives with, ate the damn thing.
Well, I get high every night just before I go to sleep. I take a.
What is that?
Alan, is that what size is that?
Turn it.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's smaller than a bread box.
Well, that's a capsule, but we don't know what
Is
the
that a
dose.
capsule? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It could hold 10 milligrams, or it could hold 1,000 milligrams. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
You don't
Is
really know.
that your THC?
It's the equivalent of an aspirin.
Well, I have pregabalin here, for instance, and these are the 50s, okay? But if I showed you the what do you call it, the hundreds, they're not a bigger size.
Let's all get out our pills
No, what
and shove
happens
them
is
on.
they're a different color.
These are 5 milligrams of Tylenol, and they're Norco. They're a narcotic that's prescribed to me.
Can we talk about Trump or something?
Yeah, really. Let's go back to.
Oh yeah,
Well, everybody go get your medicine, and we'll all put them up to the camera, and we'll see.
That's right.
I just love seeing the. By the way, I love seeing the courtroom drawings of
Oh,
the
yeah.
Trump trial because it's always got a drawing of my judge, you
Oh.
know. And I'm thinking he's having the time of his life right now. This has got to be the best thing that ever happened to him as a judge. I mean, how he drew this, I guess they just draw straws. And the winner gets to run the trial. But man, he has just had the time of his life. He's got this guy doing a comedy show in his courtroom. It's wonderful.
Talk about Trump.
He's doing
And like what was the judge's name? He was a little Asian guy with
Ito.
Ito.
That's
Ito.
it. That's it. In Southern California with
Yeah,
what's
but
the-
you didn't have a situation in which the guy who's on trial gets up and just walks out because he's mad because it isn't going the way it's supposed
No,
to
he
go.
wasn't going to walk out. He was being tried for murder.
We would have had a hard time walking out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that's the only thing that Trump hasn't been tried for. So, who knows?
Give it time.
Oh, it's just, what a world we live in, huh?
Isn't that the truth?
It's either a comedy or it's a tragic comedy. But either way, it's a comedy.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just every night I would turn on the news. I just can't watch it anymore. It just
Yeah, the
doesn't-
local news. I lost like 3 minutes on that because they were, even with these big stories, then they just start talking about, and there was a murder here. They found some body in a suitcase in Oakland, and then they start talking about that, and then there's something else going on, and it's just like nonstop. It's like when I don't watch this, I have no issue, but then when I watch it, it's like, what the hell's going on?
Well, as I say, Marjorie subscribes to this app called Citizen, and it tells you all the crime in your neighborhood at the moment. Stabbing. There's a stabbing a half a block away.
All the reported crime in your neighborhood.
Yeah. Well,
If it's not reported, it won't show up on
Well,
Citizen.
I mean, you can start reading that stuff, and after a while, you just scared for your life. I mean, one day we went up to the, I think I told you the story, we went up to the bank, and she wanted to go in and get some money out so she could pay the cleaning lady on Saturday. And I said, I'll wait out here for you. She says, oh, no, come in. I need somebody to watch out for me. I said, what are you afraid of?
You were going to get attacked out
This
there.
was the bank at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The door was open to the bank. You know, are they going to come in and rob you at gunpoint?
Why not?
Well, those are good movies, you know.
Well, I mean, just if she gets this thing every hour, it goes cling, and there's another person.
And if they rob the bank and rob the patrons, how are you going to protect her? You guys are going to comply with who's ever got the gun, get on the floor, and they usually don't take the people's money. They usually just take the bank. It takes too long to collect everybody's diamond.
Do they do
rings.
bank robberies anymore, though?
Oh, yeah, it happens.
And not as often as they used to, because most of the bank stuff is all digital. You know.
Man, they've had cameras since I was a kid in banks. And the FBI had access to it. They come in and investigate it along with the police department. And there's a video that I watched on YouTube. Some guy goes in and robs the bank, and when they push the button, it turns the panic alarm on, which is a silent alarm, notifies the police, and locks the double swinging glass doors. And the guy goes running into the door at full force, 90 miles an hour, and hits the door and knocks him out cold, and he bounces back into the bank. He wasn't any trouble finding.
Yeah.
It's always funny seeing something like that.
And that's the world we live in.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather have him if he comes in with a gun. I'd rather not have the doors locked.
I like Bonnie and Clyde. They were all analog. You know.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, it took a long time to catch them because we didn't have digital stuff.
Yeah, but when they did catch them, they made sure they got them.
Yeah. Trial by lead.
Supposedly, Bonnie Parker weighed 75 pounds more after they weighed her at the morgue.
Bet.
Yeah, because of all the bullets in her.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, probably.
Oh, they started shooting. They didn't stop shooting.
Yep, they didn't. They ambushed them and nailed them.
Yeah, but
There was no arrest going to happen.
These were dangerous people.
Obviously.
You heard Dusty Street died last week or the week before, right?
I did. Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, I didn't know her. Did not know
I thought you
her.
did.
No, I didn't. No. But, there were certain people that were like legends in the Bay Area, but they were legends from a specific little place in time. It's kind of like me.
Yeah.
Kind of like me. And so sometimes you just never meet up with them because she was well known before.
Yeah, the case ended.
I started working in San Francisco again, Yep. So,
There
It was more in the late 60s, early 70s.
One of the famous ladies on the radio had the same last name as you.
I thought maybe you ran into her over at Sirius because she worked a few of the different stations over there.
Your mother worked at the same station you did.
I'm trying to remember. Think if Dusty Street didn't wind up working at Sirius, but a lot of people worked at Sirius, but they were all over the country. They were doing the shows from their home and things that. And I think she was doing her shows from a home in up Northern California, maybe, or
Probably
Oregon,
Marin, somewhere.
Yeah. So, anyway, hey, that's it. It's been another nice little hour with a bunch of people that I like. And that's the best. That's the best way it can be. Not a big crowd, but enough of a crowd. Thanks, Brian. I appreciate your involvement in our program, as well as Jeff's. And it was good having lunch with you the other day. We'll have to do that more often.
Yep.
The rest of you guys from California can come out to New York, and I'll take you out to lunch. Thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Alan. Thanks to all of you. I'd say give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, folks. That's our citizen panel for tonight. Wow, that was a good one. Anyway, had a nice time. And we'll see you again. First of all, Jack Bishop is next. He's here with The Intersection. That will be next over most of this same GabNet, okay? He'll be taking your calls on Skype, and it's Gabnet Live is the address to call. And we'll see you again tomorrow night, 10:30, same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody.